anything like me, you might wonder, should you as an athlete eat the same sorts of food day to day as you eat for training? Can't you just eat an apple and go for a run, carry a banana with you, things like that? Well, I'm here to give you the answer and why I recommend separating daily nutrition from training nutrition. There are physiological reasons why, and here they are. Hello, my name is Kelly Jennings. I'm a registered dietitian and sports nutritionist, owner of Apex Nutrition. Now, you've heard me say it before, to separate daily nutrition from training nutrition. Doesn't mean that there's not some overlap of the foods that we have in each, but it does mean that there are reasons, physiological reasons, why our bodies need certain things in their training and that we want to avoid them when we're just eating day to day with our meals and snacks. We have very different goals, and the truth behind all of it is your body is so complex and amazing and actually changes and acts differently from the cellular and hormonal level when you are active versus when you're not. In fact, with the active part, it acts differently when you are at low intensity, moderate intensity, and high intensity. So we are going to go over 3 reasons right now why training nutrition is special, why we can use different things in training nutrition, things that we ought not to eat or drink at all during daily nutrition, and why these are important to our bodies. I'm going to not go into too much depth. Each of these could be a whole video in and of itself, so we're just going to kind of skim the surface for now, but just to give you an idea. And if you want all the details, you can click below on my plan, Fuel Right, Race Light, and learn everything you'd want to about all of these. So, number 1 is the reason to separate daily nutrition and training nutrition, and why training nutrition is special, is the metabolism of carbohydrates and the insulin response to carbohydrates is very different when we're active versus sedentary. So tiny bit of background information is when you eat carbohydrates and they are digested and then they go into the liver and then out to the bloodstream as blood glucose, your body sends out a hormone called insulin. Insulin opens up the cells to let the blood sugar in because it is not in a healthy state when it's in the bloodstream. Your body wants it in the cells and not in the blood, so it sends out insulin. Now, this is a good thing overall because we don't want that sugar in the blood, but a bad thing in the long term because too much insulin that circulates in our body causes all sorts of problems. Again, that's another video for another day. So in day-to-day nutrition, we don't want to overload with carbs, which causes our body to overload with insulin. This leads to things like insulin resistance and fat storage, things like that. So that's why we don't want it there. So a lot of people think, well, then of course we don't want it while we're training either. Makes sense. But our bodies are completely different when we're active. Our bodies don't even use insulin and glucagon as the primary hormones for that sugar response when we're active. They increase glucose utilization in different ways that have nothing to do with insulin. In fact, when I've worked with type 1 diabetics who don't make any insulin of their own and use insulin pumps, it's astonishing to see that even without pumping in insulin, their blood sugars either level off to healthy amounts or even go low sometimes, and that's something we have to watch, without any insulin at all. So that's number 1, why it's so much different. Number 2 is that when you are in active training, your stomach is different than when you're sedentary, and your stomach is the rate limiting, besides for glucose uptake, your stomach is kind of the limiting factor in giving your body nutrients while you're active. The reason is because it has to digest everything, and you can't overload it because usually people will suffer from some sort of gut rot or indigestion or having stomach issues, whereas if you're sitting on the couch, that's no big deal. So those things that are healthy for us when we're sedentary, like fiber, like more whole proteins, and even healthy fats, don't do very good while you're running or you're riding or you're climbing because your stomach has to break it down and it's doing other things. So that is not a good position to put your body in. What happens is you increase your risk for stomach cramps, you decrease the amount of blood supply that goes everywhere else that actually helps you, and you end up just feeling horrible. Plus, those nutrients, the healthy fiber and protein and fats, don't do you a lot of good in terms of the shorter term energy that you need. That is number 2. Think about your stomach. Number 3 is you have different goals. Daily nutrition is all about wellness and your weight goals. and just being, thriving as a human being and reducing the risk of disease, things like that. When you are training, your goals are to perform better, to perform at your optimal level and to recover at your optimal level. And those take specific ingredients. They take carbs. If you are doing high intensity work, no matter how you've trained your body to use fats or to go in a fasted state, and again, that's another video for another day, but at that greater than 80% VO2 max, your body wants carbs and will use it. They will use it either from what you give it or from neogenesis from your liver. So one way or another, they're gonna get carbs. So by giving your body carbs, you make it easier on it to achieve its levels. In recovery, we need carbs, we need protein to recover well, and we have a window right after where insulin does actually kick up and get that in a good way and get that glucose back into the muscles so you can feel better the next time. So those are the 3 reasons why I separate it. It's not just for fun, it's not just to mess with you. First of all, we have that the insulin response and the need for insulin is totally different. Carbohydrate metabolism is totally different when you're active versus sedentary. Number 2, your stomach is in a different I don't want to say position because it's still right here, but your stomach responds differently when you're active versus sedentary. And number 3, you have different goals. You need the nutrients your body can use and not those other healthy ones that are going to set in your stomach and cause problems when you're active and then when you're recovering. So thank you so much for listening. And if you want so much more, head on over to apexnutritionllc.com.